Hi, Bob. So, we had this testimony coming in. We've talked about this a lot. I just want to ask a question because a lot of people have been asking me this lately. I've heard it throughout my career. When I was a prosecutor, which was probably close to half of my career, people would always say, oh, all you prosecutors want to do is put innocent people in jail to make a name for yourself. And then I became a defense lawyer, and I had a lot of people, the same people, which is the irony, saying, all you want to do is get guilty people off. So answer the question that was recently asked by one of my wife's friends. Her daughter wanted to know, her young daughter, how could you as how could defense attorneys do such things like represent people that do these kind of things? What would your answer to that person be?
Well, I mean, first of all, nobody makes us do this stuff. We do it because we choose to. But I think from the defense standpoint, the way I've looked at it as a defense lawyer is that we're making sure the state plays by the rules, because it may not just be that defendant that you're sticking up for, making sure his rights are protected, but everybody else in society's rights you're also sticking up for and defending by making sure that process is fair in that case, but also for every other case.
Yeah, and Duncan, I can think of one of the first cases I had as a young defense lawyer after having been a prosecutor for 7 years, and on paper the case looked like the guy was absolutely guilty. It was a shooting case, and in the end, and it's a long story, I won't go through it, I uncovered a piece of evidence that the whole case unraveled, and eventually the person was case was dismissed. And I remember my father, who is now, he was younger then, now a 90-year-old attorney, saying to me, maybe you learned a lesson there. Your job is not to do anything other than to make sure you put the government to its task to make sure that they're not sloppy, lazy, or worse yet, nefarious. I got about 30 seconds. How do you respond to that question?
I couldn't agree more. And, on the defense side, I also spent the first half of my career as a prosecutor, both federal and state, and the job's just different. On the defense side, our wins are incremental sometimes, and sometimes it's getting a just outcome, and it could be a conviction, but with a fair sentence, and to ensure that there's integrity in the process.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of times what we're trying to do is mitigate the damage. It's not necessarily finding loopholes and things like this, but trying to get the prosecutors to a more reasonable resolution as to what's punishment and yet also rehabilitation. All right, Duncan, thank you very much for your time. I know you got to go. We'll be right back.